Let's talk history. The original Ford Capri was a legendary sports coupe. It even had the tagline, "the car that you promised yourself." Its most popular or most spicy version was the 3-litre V6 with 185 horsepower, which was available from the late 70s to the early 80s. And if it had continued being built, maybe it would have looked like this, because Ford spent a lot of time coming up with different designs for the Capri. This car poses two questions. First of all, is it a real Ford Capri? And why would you choose one over the Ford Explorer, which is identical in pretty much every way underneath the skin and very, very similar on the inside as well. So why would you pick one? Let's try and find out. The Ford Capri has a heritage of a thoroughbred sports coupe. This is fast and rapid, but it's got more in common with the Ford Explorer than it does with the Ford Capri. So let's just get that out of the way first of all. However, let's judge it by what it really is, which is a very good, sporty looking electric SUV. That classic Capri had dual headlights at the front. Well, we've got that dual headlight design on this car, and on the side of the car it had a C-shaped pillar which is maintained on this car too. So it's taken some design cues. It's not a sports coupe. Ford wanted us to believe that this is what would have happened to the Capri if it continued being built. Let's talk trims and specs of this car. There's two trims available, the Select and the Premium. Both have a rear-wheel drive version, both have a rear-wheel drive extended version, and the Premium has an all-wheel drive extended range version. So you have a choice, 55 kilowatt hours or 77 kilowatt hours. And where it impresses is, if you look at the rear-wheel drive extended range model, this car can do 389 miles. So basically 390 miles of WLTP range. That's a really impressive range, and about 10 miles more than the equivalent Explorer. 10 miles, does it make much difference? That depends on you and your driving, but the fact that Ford have that difference, which exists in the Capri, makes the Capri, in my mind, slightly better. However, pricing is another thing that's different. As spec, with all the optional extras, including this beautiful blue paint and the driver assistance pack, this car comes in at just over £60,000. Now, if you go for one of the Select models, at the entry point, you get around 170 horsepower. I don't think 170 horsepower is enough. I'm going to be honest with you. When you're overtaking, they lack the top end to get you around the cars coming onto you. So I don't like 170 horsepower. I think anything below 200 is not enough if you ever plan on overtaking ever in your life. However, if you get the all-wheel drive version, we've got 340 horsepower or 340 PS, and that is the same as Explorer as well. And as you can see, I love blue, so this totally goes with my style. Let's talk about the top features of the Ford Capri. And number one on that is the range, 389 miles WLTP range on the extended range rear wheel drive version. That's very, very impressive. Number two on my top features is the Sync Move system. So this is a 14.3-inch touchscreen. That's amazing, but if I press this button down here, I can push it upright and have it at this angle, or have it at this angle, or have it at this angle, or pretty much any angle. But what's even better about it is you can store stuff in here and it's locked and hidden away from anyone. Number three is this space in here. 17 liters of space. You could literally get lost down there. You can fit a 17-inch laptop in there. There's so much space. Fantastic storage. And Ford are the only company that I'm aware of right now that let you 3D print accessories for this car that can go into here or other areas of the car. 3D printed accessories for your own car. All you need is a 3D printer. And I really think 3D printers are cool. So if you want to sponsor me and send me one, I'll take one, and then I can make stuff for cars as well. But I love that feature too. And lastly on my top features, and we'll call it a tie here for fifth, these amazing Sensico seats, which are not leather, they're vegan friendly, they look and feel like leather, and the Bang & Olufsen soundbar, which I think is fantastic. Now this gets my attention because this is very much like the original Ford Capri. It's that same design language of that C-shaped pillar at the back, which this modern Capri has and the original Capri had as well. Is that enough to make it a Capri? Maybe not, but it is a design heritage following through from the early 70s all the way to 2025. So Ford get credit for that from me. Just like the Explorer, the Ford Capri is available on up to 21-inch tires. Now, I'm really impressed with the ride quality on both this and the Explorer. Even though it's got massive tires, they've got big sidewalls, so they handle all the bumps and all the holes in the road. And we'll talk about that when we go for a drive in a little bit. Now, what about the rear design of the Ford Capri? Well, it's got a big Capri on the back, just like the Explorer has a big Explorer. But unlike the Explorer, this is see-through. The Explorer was not see-through, and it has the same double design here, which harkens back to the original Capri as well, which I like down there. Other than that, it's pretty standard for an electric SUV built on the same platform as many others. One other really impressive part of the Ford Capri is the size and space in the back here. We've got 572 litres of space in the back here. Doesn't exactly spring to mind when you think of a sporty SUV or even its electric version from the future, but this has actually got more space in the back than the Explorer has. Don't know what that's about. And there's even little bins down the inside here, which are really cool. And we have the same split bottom here as you get on the Explorer, so you can adjust the floor here and put stuff above and below it. And of course, we do have pass-through as well. So very impressed with the space at the back of the Ford Capri. What do we have in the back? We have a sporty SUV coupe. That is what we want. How does that affect our space? Well, I'm 1.78 m, and if I put my hands above my head, you can see I've got plenty of space to the panoramic glass roof. If I put my head back, then yes, it does touch the top of the roof here, but it's not a huge deal. And I mean, I'm not sure I would be putting my head back like this, sitting in a car like this anyway. I think I'd probably be more likely sitting like this. And if I was to get more comfortable, I'd probably scooch down a bit to get more comfortable. So I'm not sure that's a big deal. Very nice interior seats, very comfortable. Sensico seats, so they're not leather, they're vegan, they feel amazing, they're very good. And 2 USB Type-Cs back here, and just very spacious, very light, very comfortable. Let's talk charging. So the rear-wheel drive version of this car can charge at 135 kilowatts. The all-wheel drive can do 185 kilowatts. The Ford Explorer, just like the Ford Capri here, can do 10 to 80% charge in 26 minutes. Let's talk interior on the Ford Capri. It's basically identical to the Ford Explorer, except on the Explorer up here, it says Explorer. On the Capri, it doesn't say that. Other than that, it's the same, other than this steering wheel. Now, the steering wheel does have another callback to the original Capri with holes in the steering wheel and a metallic finish down here, although I don't actually think it is metal. I'm not sure what it is. Doesn't feel like metal, but it looks like metal. I like that. It's got the same squared off wheel as the Explorer 2 and the same fantastic storage in this car. So we've got our same Sync Move touchscreen, 14.3 inches, massive space here in the center console, which gives us 17 litres of space, and which you can get 3D printed accessories for. We've got these same fantastic Sensico seats, which look the part. They're not leather, they feel like leather, they smell like leather, they look like leather. That's great. We've got a Bang & Olufsen soundbar here, which I absolutely love. Audi used to do Bang & Olufsen, now they do Sonos. Rubbish. Bang & Olufsen, that's premium. I love that. That's amazing. Overall, a very good interior. Let's check out the infotainment system in a bit more detail. Now, one thing I do find a bit strange on this, the Explorer and the Capri, is this driver display. It's got the VW design, but Ford have added like little ears to it, which I guess are meant to accentuate the fact that it's a Ford and not a VW, but it is still clearly a VW screen, just with a case around it almost. It's like when they're trying to hide the new iPhones and they put it in a case of an old iPhone. It's a bit like that. This car is built on the same platform as the VW ID4, the Q4 e-tron, the Cupra Tavascan, and other cars as well. And so there are lots of similarities between the cars. First of all, it's the same size as those cars. The interior has lots of similarities to those cars. The way it drives has lots of similarities to those cars. Even these shape of these windows on the doors are very similar, but there's also lots of differences. Ford have done a lot of different stuff on the inside. The touchscreen is different, the Sync Move is different, that soundbar is different, the steering wheel is different, they've got a case around the driver display. But where it really shines is it drives differently to the VW cars. Let's check out this infotainment system really quickly. So we have a very simple but large display, 14.3 inches vertical orientation. You can see our driving data, vehicle status, charging information. If I want to go into my climate control, it's down here at the bottom. If I tap on the little man with air pointing at him, it will then bring me up to this setting here. I can then turn on the air conditioning and adjust the speed, whether I want it in comfort, rapid cooling, cool my feet, warm my feet. I like these quick settings, they're very clever. And I can adjust whether I want the steering wheel heating on as well. Also, I might say, you're gonna have a very cold or very hot hand if you're on the steering wheel there, aren't you? So, worth considering that for a second. You can manually adjust the climate with the little tabs on them, so you don't have to use a screen to do that. And we can turn it off. We can go back to the home screen and we can tap on these quick shortcuts up here. So this will take me to my apps. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are available. We've got a really good parking system with a 360 camera system, although I do wish it was a bit larger and not just constricted to that small area there. Take up the whole screen, give me some more space, maybe show the different angles underneath here. Could be better. We've got active park, so self-parking. I love self-parking. We can go to our car quick shortcuts here, turn off the auto hold, the interior monitoring, or the HUD position. And then we have our driver modes: Eco, Sport, Individual, Normal, and Traction for off-roading presumably. And in Individual, I can tap on that little icon there and adjust these settings to get it exactly how I want it. And we'll test out these different modes in a little bit. I can tap on that to go back to my navigation. If Android Auto or CarPlay connected, that will bring up those. We've got our notifications up here, and then up here we have our privacy settings. Again, very, very straightforward, and I think this is fast enough. I don't have any issues with the speed of this, and I don't know why anybody should have. I would, however, always use Google Maps and Android Auto on top of here because that is my preference. But I like this system. I like the big screen. I like how easy it is to use. Underneath the screen, we have some touch sensitive buttons, which are very VW. As you can see, quick settings to our parking or camera information, our volume up and down, or we can turn it off with the power button. And then we have our Bang & Olufsen soundbar. Love it. This is amazing. Let's talk about the ride of the Ford Capri. This has got really big wheels, 21-inch wheels, but it handles the road very, very well. There's really big tire walls, and they have lots of grip and lots of girth to them, and they just feel really, really stable and planted on the road. It handles the bumps and the potholes like they're not there, and I'm really, really impressed with the way this car handles. It's very, very comfortable. And it's not slow either. We have 340 horsepower, more or less. PS is not quite horsepower, but it's close enough. And so this car can really move, and we're going to test the 0 to 60 as well and see how fast it can do it. Ford says 5.3 seconds, so let's find out. Let's check the 0 to 60 time. Speedbox Performance Touch Pro. Go, go, go! We can do 5.3 seconds. Ford says 340 horsepower. They're quoting here. Can we do it in that time? That was 5.02 seconds, 0 to 60, so faster than Ford say it can do it in, it can do it in. That's rapid, and maybe that harkens back to its history as a Capri because it's faster than that old Capri, I can tell you that much. Let's talk about the range on this car because that is one of the most impressive things. 389, or as good as, makes no difference, 390 miles of WLTP range. That is fantastic. It's the highest range EV that Ford currently make, and it puts it ahead of the Ford Explorer by about 10 miles. Even on this all-wheel drive version, it's about 10 miles better off in terms of range. Now, I'm guessing that's got something to do with the drag coefficient because the front of this car is much smoother. The Explorer is much more blunt, to be fair to say. And so I think that's going to make a difference in terms of that efficiency. It's interesting, isn't it? What I'm seeing now with 73% is 251 miles of range. So I very much believe that this car will get over that 330 real world mileage, because you always have to account for some loss of range because EVs and WLTP aren't exactly 100% accurate. But what you do get is a car which has a really large real world range and really is very, very competitive and ahead of most of the competition. Let's try the different modes. Eco feels very similar to normal. Sport, you definitely can feel it when you put your foot down. It moves at 340 horsepower, which is amazing. Individual lets you choose what you want, and traction is for when you're off-roading. Let's handle the roundabout here and see what this is like. How easily does it go around the roundabout? And you know what, there isn't much lean. There's a bit, but it still feels very well planted, which I really like. And then if we put our foot down, we definitely do move, and I like that. We've got a big head-up display, which is really good in front of you, so you can see what's going on, and all the latest driver assistance technology if you option the driver assistance pack. Overall, this is a very comfortable and very easy to drive car, which has everything that you could want. Is it really a Capri? For me, this is now the Ford Capri, because that's what it is. What do I think of the Ford Capri? Being built on the same MEB platform as various VW and Audi models like the ID4, ID5, the Q4 e-tron means it's got a really solid foundation. And there are lots of things I really liked about the Ford Explorer that this builds on. I think this has got a sharper look. I think it looks better, although it does look a bit like a Pulsar 2 from the back. But nevertheless, I think it looks better. I think it's more distinct. I love this color, although you can get the Explorer in brighter colors too. But this car is just a bit more efficient and just has a bit more range than the Ford Explorer. And it is also more expensive than the Ford Explorer. But if you want the most stylish and the best range out of any Ford EV currently on the market, then the Capri is the way you want to go. I'm very impressed with this. It is in a very crowded market, there's no doubt about it. So I think you need to take this for a drive yourself. It may be that with deals you can bring this down to similar to an Explorer, in which case I would choose this over an Explorer just because it's got slightly better range and slightly more style to it. But maybe you prefer the Explorer. They're both great cars. Check out my Ford Explorer review here, and also other EVs which are similar here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give me a like and subscribe.